Alrighty, guys, welcome back.
Yeah.
Two finals games down.
Jeez.
Massive shockers.
Insane.
I was driving to
Uh,
Indiana, of all places, game one, checking into the hotel, and then I
Actually.
saw. No, actually, kid you not. I'm like, okay, OKC's got this. It's getting close, but I think they got this. Walked into my hotel room, looked at my phone to check again because I didn't want to watch it while I was crashing into somebody in the hallway, and saw a replay of Tyrese Halliburton hitting the game winner. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
a wild sequence of events that happened there. Game two, OKC put the foot down, didn't offer an opportunity to happen. Great final so far. I was
Yeah.
worried it would be like a sweep or something close like that. It might be a gentleman's sweep if Indiana
Yeah.
can't figure anything out. But um, great finals. To start off the finals of game one, that was incredible. But
No, it
Diego,
was
how's
insane.
been your experience?
It was awesome. I guess I was telling my friends we should make it a tradition, a finals tradition. Game one was watching it at Mug Night with the boys. Um, it was a good game, man. I was like, well, my friends didn't think so. One of my roommate, he said, "Man, this is over. Like, why are we still watching this? The Thunder have it." I was like, why would you say that? You clearly do not know the body of work that we are working with here from the Pacers. And I literally said that. I was like, bro, why would you like? There's no reason to say that. And in the fourth quarter, I'm just like, this is a reasonable lead here. This is fine. And I look away for 2 seconds, no, like a few minutes. And then I look back and I'm like, yo, it's down to 10. Oh, it's under 5. Oh my God. And then the Thunder kept pushing a little bit. And then just seeing Halburn run up the court with the ball, I was like, no, no, this would be hilarious. There's no way he does it again for the fourth straight series, all four series that you get in an NBA playoff format, and then he does it. And yeah, man, everyone was already all my friends were already standing, and everyone in the bar just goes, oh, like it was wild. And I really right then after the game, I just snapped all of my, you have snaps you have to respond to. I don't like insta respond to them, and I just all my friends, I'm just like, I've witnessed history in this bar tonight, and it was wild. I just I couldn't get over it, and it was just such a wacky game. Game two made more sense. I mean, it kind of felt the same. Bad first half for the Pacers, a lot better second half, but the Thunder just took a run and then said, "Well, that was nice. Here you go. Your run right back to you." And yeah, that was it was good for the Thunder. And yeah, like you said, as of right now, it seems like the Thunder have the Pacers figured out, but Gainbridge Fieldhouse is a different beast. So
We'll get into more of that later. But something we do need to figure out is a shower thought you
it
had.
is a shower thought. Should I just go off? Um,
Just go off.
I saw this tweet. I'm kind of a regular on the basketball Twitter sphere sometimes. That said it was a highlight of Giannis, and it said some people are saying they wouldn't give up any player for this guy. And it's Giannis, doing the regular Giannis, hitting those mid ranges he kind of hits now. And then I thought, well, Giannis, one of the better players in the world, won a championship. Who else is untradeable around that level? And you could say Wemby, but he's too young and he could even be better at one point. But then I was like, Jokic, that's a good comparison. Who would you give up more for? Who would you be frothing at the mouth to trade for, given the opportunity? If Nico Harrison was the GM of the Bucks and he asked you to trade almost nothing for Giannis, how happy would you be? Giannis or Jokic? Who would you be happier with? And so I thought of that right before I got in the shower. I saw that tweet. I thought of that the whole shower, and I had a lot of thoughts. I didn't get to a real big conclusion because they're so similar. One championship, both are big men who, obviously Jokic can shoot it, but you'd want them to be surrounded by guys who can shoot threes. Um, Ideally, a reasonable amount of defense, more for Jokic, less for Giannis. And so yeah, I was just thinking about that, and obviously with the Giannis free agency, well not free agency, but the trade sweepstakes. Although rumors have it that he might not leave, he loves being in Milwaukee. Um, yeah, it's a good thought. So my first thought is Giannis, just because I'm a man of defense. I've said it so many times. And you could build an OKCS defense off of Giannis, and then So that's my first thought. We could get into it a little bit deeper, but yeah,
I will I will counter that with saying, so your question is, just to repeat again,
yeah.
who would you be happy getting less back in return
Like
for Jokic and Giannis, or other way around?
no, just basically who who would you want more? That's it. That's it. Who do you want more on your team right now in 2025? Jokic or Giannis? All
Jokic.
everything the same for the trade,
Jokic.
everything. Yeah.
I love Giannis, but I think the way Jokic can make others better, where he can seemingly anticipate and
Mhm.
like have the IQ to like run his own plays when the plays break down.
Yeah.
I think what separates, and that's where the league is headed, where it's a lot more unselfish basketball, and you get more players on fire and feeling confident about themselves.
Yeah.
Like his team is the only one to bring OKC to 7 games,
That's
and
true.
his teams are always been like near the championship sphere. Like it's been like outside considerations why his team's been losing, and we could say the same about Giannis. But
Yeah.
like I feel like Giannis doesn't have a force multiplying effect on offense in the way that Jokic does. Whereas, like, obviously, like if he gets a paint touch and he could drive and kick, Giannis can do that. But he's not
Yeah.
anticipating plays before they happen on the level Jokic is. That's just like he's just playing chess out there. And
Mhm.
I think I would love to have Jokic on my team because he can maximize everybody around. Like he maximized Aaron Gordon,
Yeah.
he maximized Michael Porter Jr. Like he figured out where Jamal Murray works best in the pick and roll situations.
Mhm.
Like even Christian Brown has a role. Like does not matter. Like he knows like how to help people that cut in different ways and support them when they're non-shooters.
Yeah.
And I don't think Giannis has that type of effect, especially when it's a scoring focused league and you need to have as many diverse ways to score as possible. Giannis's game is basically maximized when you get in transition
Yeah.
and when you have floor spacers. And
Mhm.
for a league that maximizes that, there it's a premium to find those guys like off the street
This is
to
true.
build around. So
Yeah.
if you build if you get a Giannis, you have to think about, do I have all the floor spacing necessary, and do I have like guys connected on a string
Mhm.
after all the assets I trade up? That might take a year or two to build. Where with
Yeah.
Jokic, you can make things work, and I think that's what separates the two in my mind.
Yeah, and I definitely agree on the offensive side. Um, and thinking about this, see, like when I think of these things, I went from, oh yeah, like they're very similar. One's a good offense, one's a really great offensive player with Jokic being like barely like he's par defensively, which is fine. And that's how they won the championship, right? You have a great offense, all-time offense, and a reasonable defense. But then Giannis wins the championship, and he does that by being a clamped down, lockdown defender and defense. I mean, I'm never gonna forget that block on Aiton after hedging
That
out
was
to
wild.
Booker. That I'm never forgetting that moment. And
Booker thought he had Giannis like in the deciding part, and that's why he threw it up. And the closing speed was just impressive. I know
yep,
exactly what play you're talking about. That was insane.
yes. And but then they had an excellent offense, but their or defense, but their offense was. I will always say this: their offense was god awful, putrid, disgusting. Like it was terrible. And so again, two parallels. And like I said, I'm a defense guy, and I was like, it got me thinking, like Jokic, right? You could put like dead, not dead body, not actually dead bodies, but just like a half awake person to just catch and shoot threes, and that could work offensively. But on defense, you need all of his guys to be able to play defense because he's kind of a lot. Not I don't want to say kind of. He's not as good there. Okay, for a high grade defense, but then Giannis, you can make a really nice, incredible defense as we've seen. And so that's why it got me thinking. And then I was like, well, what's Giannis best as a roamer? But what if he's the five? And then I got into this whole thought that no one like Giannis, AD, Evan Mobley, like some a bunch of these guys that are skilled fours that can do all these things don't do well at the five. And yeah, so it basically just got everywhere. But I just wanted Giannis because if I had all the resources necessary, I could build a really crazy defense, and that would be fun. So yeah,
But if you have all crazy defenders about Jokic.
I know, but
It'll be a clamping battle. That's the thing. That's the thing because
mm,
Christian Brown, great defender, but he knows his role on offense and stuff like that.
yeah,
You need savvy guys like that that can be connected on the string. And could you imagine if you just had Amen Thompson, Christian Brown, um, like I don't know, like Cam
Eric,
Johnson, and
ooh,
then let's do a point guard, like
yeah, I mean, say
Loki
Jamal
point
Murray,
guard
but
because those are a lot. Let's do
like a
let's
defender
do
point guard, like a great
let's do Mike
defender.
Conley. Like add Mike Conley to that.
Sure.
Look, that's a crazy defensive four players, right?
Yeah.
Like
Well.
you're worried about Mike Conley and like Jokic at
Yeah,
that
the
point.
2-man game.
But what was the team that was very similar? Like the Knicks. They were worried about Jalen Brunson and Cat defensively, right? But that team has a lot of great winged role players and stuff like that. If you put a Jokic instead of a Cat and then get a slightly reduced Brunson, I'd
Yeah.
argue you'd be closer to a championship because of the way Jokic can multiply those players. Like Brunson and Cat cannot multiply the players around him like one Jokic can, and that's the
Yeah.
biggest difference.
Yeah, I mean, that's I don't know if you were trying to transition, but like that's like a big reason it feels like Tibbs got fired, just it does, and not just his fault,
You're
right?
learning. You're learning. I'm so proud.
Like Tibbs was like, Jalen, Cat, you guys hold the ball and then spread it out to everyone else. I mean, the Mikal Bridges we saw this year was nothing like Brooklyn or even Phoenix, where he kind of had the ball in his hands more. And that's kind of that old thought of, oh, here's my best player. He has the ball. My second best player can kind of have the ball. And then when they have the ball, they do things and it makes the defense do things and we get open shots somehow. But that's not necessarily, and that's not how Jokic plays right now. Obviously, he's the best player and he has the ball in his hands, so kind of contradictory there. But just the way he spreads it out is different. It's not just him isoing all the time and then maybe passing. He will pass it and he can read those passes. So yeah, it's very interesting. That's why I said it was a really good debate, and that's one thing I've tried to do in other places. Like I did this with a friend one time where we were talking about like MJ versus LeBron, and I didn't want to make it like, oh, you're like, how could you ever think MJ is the GOAT? Like obviously there's no point in arguing that of like, oh, you're kind of dumb for thinking that. But it's just like, why do you think that? Let's see. Well, this is why I think that. Like regular discourse, which I think we need to get more of in 2025, instead of having like b-ball breakdown. Like no one's. I don't think anyone's gonna. Everyone reads through. I read through his replies. He replies to people, and they're just so mad. And they're like, you're just here to support Shea because he's a foul merchant." Blah blah blah. He's like, "No, I'm just here to spread knowledge of the game." And he's such a stand up dude. So again, uh, I'm like tangent monster here, but back to the Knicks. Um, yeah, like I said last week, I feel like he might be a bit dated. He's a great regular season coach, but I just think I think he's got to. I don't know if he'll get another coaching job, maybe for like a not as good team, kind of like JB Bickerstaff, uh, lifting a team up into their next level. But it just doesn't feel like he has that kind of championship pedigree of like trying new things or like getting away from this old offensive sense. Defense, I wouldn't be worried about tips, but offensively, it's just difficult. The league has changed, so
Yeah, and if I watched like how the pieces went up and down the floor
yeah,
and how OKC communicated so well, like in games 1 and 2, even though they lost game 1,
mm-hmm.
to me that's coaching parts of it when it came in that situation in the playoffs, and that's where he got out coached.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at what the Knicks did, and I really don't think it's a coaching problem. I just don't think they had the right personnel. Like,
Yeah,
and that's saying a lot because they put themselves in a bad spot by trading so many picks for Mikal Bridges.
mm-hmm.
Because now you don't have the leverage to trade for Kevin Durant other than giving up the personnel you got. But the
Yeah,
personnel you got is great for a championship team. So now they're in a situation where they're not quite a championship team, but they have a lot of pieces that a championship team would need. And it's like as much I love Brunson and I love Cat, but in the biggest moments, they can be shut down. They can
Yeah.
reach it. Like look at Nemhart, what Nemhart did. Look at like how Siakam frustrated Cat at times. Like, and there are times where they get tunnel vision and they don't have an extra outlet. Like you don't
Hmm.
see that with Shea going on in the playoffs where he's like constantly has an answer for everything. Like Brunson's a scoring machine, but I think the next part of his game is how do I make the other people around me better? When you're talking about Jokic and like force multiplication, like that is where the league is
Yeah.
headed. Where it's like if you can make your guys better, like an Ant, like a Shea, like that is what you need on your team, and both offensive and defensively. And I think they have a lot of great pieces, like Anunoby, Mikal Bridges. I want to touch him. Hart is maybe a tough guy. Like he's a guy where it's going to be tough to move on from him. But like it's a would I rather have him or Lou Dort? I would say Lou Dort
Yeah.
because Lou Dort can bring a lot of the rebounds that Josh Hart can. And like
The defense, I
unlike
feel like.
like could I trade for Trey Murphy instead of like Josh Hart and then the couple picks and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And I'd feel better about like what their offense looks like around that. And their defense is still solid.
Hmm.
And that's the tough reality of it because Josh Hart's kind of like a fan favorite with the hustle and the grit he
Yeah.
embodies with the team. But when I look at how like what happens when they reach like a stalling point when their offense hits a wall,
Yeah.
they're really good. They have really good efficiency in the regular season. But I don't think that's a Tibbs thing that he can maximize. So I do see it from both ends there. Now, which kind of players could I see maximize it? I could see a Mike Malone do it because he's proven where he can make adjustments and proven that. Like Jackson, another guy who can maximize the fundamentals. I know Stephen A. Smith has been like constantly talking about that,
Really.
and he has a point in that regard. Well, when I look at offensive philosophy, it's do I really want to die from like those two trees right now? Probably not. Like I would probably want to look at what Indiana's doing, like from a spacing perspective. The way they set their guys up and the way they always have people running to the quarters in transition to
Hmm.
opening up space in the paint. They run with purpose, even though they run fast. The way they set up plays and go with offensive concepts and modifying that, the league is heading that way. And if you get a coach that can coach unselfish basketball, that's really hard to defend on top of things.
Yeah.
So get somebody from the Celtics tree, get somebody
Hmm.
from like heck the JJ Redick tree in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like
Nate McMillan.
Nick McMillan would be a great coach for the Knicks. He
Yeah.
would be a fantastic coach for the Knicks. Um, I think his name doesn't get brought up a lot, but unless you make a move that gives your offense a different counterpunch that's hard to game plan for, on top of having guys that are hard to face one on one,
Hmm.
the Knicks are not going that high.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, you don't want to sacrifice all the things you did on the defensive end. So it's like you see what the league is headed where you need that depth, build that depth on top of what you have because Shaman and um, who's that? DeLon
Uh.
Wright.
Yeah.
They play really, really good, really great. Mitchell Robinson played great. You have 8 guys now. Keep building on that, and as long as they don't sacrifice their defense in the process, I think this was the right move. It's a tough move to make because I love Tibbs when he was on the Bulls.
Yeah.
I think the Bulls just got unlucky with like the injuries that happened and like some of the calls they got against them in the series that mattered. Um, but seeing him in New York now, there's a clear flaw when the offense breaks down because Jalen Brunson is not as dynamic as Derrick Rose was in his heyday.
Yeah.
And when the going gets tough, you're not going to have him suddenly commit two to the ball because of his speed. It's more two to the ball because we don't want him beating us. And then by the time somebody else gets the ball, they're cold. Whereas when Rose got hot and explosive, similar to like a Steph Curry, then you have to worry about everybody else
Yeah.
because you have to quickly stop like the avalanche here due to pure speed. And where the finals are heading now is like the more paint touches you can get on like getting to the paint
Hmm.
with speed and forcing the closeouts, then that's where the offense is headed. And that's where you're losing already. And I think the New York Knicks need a coach that sees that way and implements that in some. It may be a Bridges, it may be an Anunoby at times that initiates the offense
Yeah.
and uses their athletic prowess to start that process. But it needs a coach to like dive into those key features rather than having like Bridges hit a fadeaway, then Anunoby trying to get a loose ball rebound and get a second chance points are hard to gauge game after game.
Hmm.
But like
Yeah.
having great first opportunities that are innovative is super important.
No, I definitely agree, and I think a big thing on the lineups. I think I said last year that because Tibbs didn't play the lineups or all his players enough, that's why like OG got hurt, Jalen Brunson got hurt, yada yada. And I could belabor that point again, but no one really got hurt this year. But the big thing is you don't play Shamit and Delon Wright until you really need until the season's on the line, and they're good, but how good could they have been if they had built that chemistry with Brunson, Deuce McBride,
Exactly.
Cat, and whatnot? So it's just a big thing to think about there. And another thing I'd say is right, the Knicks are now looking for other coaches. They probed for Ime Udoka. The Rockets said no, logically, right? And then they're also looking at Jason Kidd, the Mavs head coach. Wait, Exhibit A. And what like it just I've heard so many podcasts like Mavs podcasters saying like, well, why don't the Mavs just say no? And because it's like the Knicks haven't formally requested to talk to him, but it's just why don't you just be like, no, we're not doing this, or you get Jason Kidd and be like, yo, Jason, do you want to stay here? No, all right, you can go to the Knicks if you want. We don't care. Or oh, you do want to stay here? Okay, we'll tell the Knicks no. So it just feels really weird. But I'm neither here nor there on Jason Kidd. I don't think he's like amazing, but I don't think he's terrible, right? The guy who took us to a finals, Western Conference Finals. But either way, I think we'll be okay. But he could be fine for the Knicks. He's kind of an unusual character at times, other things in his past. But Mark Jackson's also interesting. I just saw a thread about him how he was actually a pastor as well in LA while he was coaching the Warriors. And that he uh he and his wife put like holy water on Steph Curry's ankles to make sure they would be okay. And I was like, that, yeah, that gets a bit out there in terms of stuff. So, just tidbit right there. It's kind of a crazy coincidence. I read that today, but um, yeah, I think that's good on the Knicks. See what they do moving forward.
I did not know that about the passer thing at all. Like
Yeah,
learn
I didn't
something new.
either. Yeah,
All right. Let's go to the main show.
yeah,
Pacers and the Thunder. Talked about game one at length. OKC narrowing it down 1-1. I think the big thing is the depth of OKC really came into play, unlike in game
hmm,
one. But also I think the paint touches. I alluded to it. Indiana had more paint touches. Can we talk more paint touches than OKC in game one, 21-15. But OKC had more in game two, 24-10.
yep,
I think the thing that's determining who wins this finals is who gets the paint more successfully. Because there are situations like in the game where OKC would like hold Indiana as a single possessions where they don't even touch the paint at all. Like
yeah,
and don't even get past the elbow. And like they're trying to figure it out. Like Dort and Caruso have been like phenomenal all year, just refusing to be screened and picking the perfect angles to like prevent like offensive players from like starting their drives or like getting to their actions. And I think that's the big thing when you're talking about forcing a Halliburton, um, like when he stepped in the backcourt, like just by a
yeah,
fraction of his foot. Like those kind of things happened a lot in game two. And I think they figured out the answer on like how do we stop that initial penetration from like game one. And the big thing with the Pacers, and I said this before the season started, is got to as the series started, is got to cut off the head from the snake, Halliburton.
yeah,
Like if you do that, and he's shown games for as good as he is and clutch as he is, where he's having single digit points going into the fourth quarter,
hmm,
and that's gonna be a thing he's gonna have to like learn to balance because even last season we'd see crazy assist numbers and low scoring, but then at the beginning of the season, he had really high scoring traits. So he can do it, but I think sometimes he thinks backwards, and you need to have the scoring first in order to make yourself a passing threat. And Shea is definitely showing that a lot. And um, and I think the other thing to stand out is too, like Shea is not getting like his composure, like his composure's through the roof right now. Like
Yeah,
he's not getting as emotionally engaged as he did in game one, where Nemhard was like jabbing him and stuff like that.
true.
So it's like that is huge if like Shea can remain the rest of the season because he's unguardable right now. Like he's bringing back the mid range, and but I think the big thing is like the amount of paint touches OKC is getting is leading to guys like Aaron Wiggins and Chet Holmgren
Yeah,
having
yeah.
big games, and Caruso 20 points. Wow.
Yep. Caruso and Wiggins. I saw this meme that's like Aaron Wiggins has saved basketball, and I was like, I don't even really get it. I just think it's funny. But man, he hit one where he was just doing some moves, step back three, and I was like, wow. He got a wide open three, missed it. Someone got the offensive rebound, which they did a bunch of this game. I mean, there's one where Casey Wallace just steals a rebound from Miles Turner in the air, beautiful. But Aaron Wiggins gets the ball back on the same possession as he's like, I'm chucking this, I'm shooting this, and I'm making it. And I was like, wow, oh, and he made it, and I was pretty amazed. So yeah, very very good on them. Kind of a bit more hustle. It looked like they were more locked in. And then, yeah, I'm just so confused on if you're Indiana, why aren't you going to Halliburton from the jump? Like it took for the first fourth quarter of the second game. Oh, I don't fully remember exactly how he's being used in the first game, but in the second game, in the fourth quarter, coming in, he had 3 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds, and something else, five of something.
Triple signal.
Yeah, like, and then he just decides to start scoring. It's like, I like this. If you're a Pacers fan, you love this. Why don't you keep doing this the whole game? And so that was kind of confusing. And obviously, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, is Tyrese Halliburton a real superstar and whatnot? Like that's not. We know what he can do. Clearly, we just saw what he can do. So it's not. There's no point belaboring that. So we're just. I'm just confused on why that might be if that's like on if that's something Rick Carlisle decides that might be the only thing he's fumbled in this series or these playoffs is sometimes they don't get him as active or say Tyrese you have to score because like you said that's the first you get the scoring and then everything opens up and you just get
Yep.
buckets from there.
And I think the other thing too is like a crazy decision by Dagnall was
Yeah.
to sit Hartenstein at the beginning. That was odd.
Mm-hmm.
Hartenstein and Holmgren played more minutes in game two, and they clearly you saw the impact of having bigger players. And they put him specifically when I think he was targeting to have those bigger players come in when their bench players are coming in because Indiana tends to downsize and they bring in their
Mm-hmm.
bench. Thomas Bryant can shoot the ball too, and he is a great rebounder.
Yes.
But it's insane the corner threes he's been hitting. But like
Yeah.
when you have guys like Holmgren and Hartenstein just feasting on the boards, like that is very difficult. And then you have the other Jalen Williams coming off the bench to do that as well. So like they out rebounded the Pacers, dominated the paint. Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. We said this before the series started. They're gonna have to step up if they're
Yep.
gonna win the title, and they did. Jalen Williams has had 20 points. Chet had 15 and 6 rebounds. Um, and the points off turnovers. Indiana's great in transition defense, but like the amount of miscues Indiana had in game one should have been a blowout. And the
Yeah.
fact that OKC wasn't capitalized on that was, to me, the biggest factor. Because once Indiana got to drive and kick with the paint touches, they were able to make up that deficit. But OKC could have pulled this out of the question by capitalizing on the turnovers, especially when you had 20 in the first half. I was expecting that to be a bigger lead.
Yeah.
But um, they took advantage of it in game two, and you hope that they will continue to in order to win the title.
Yep. No, I definitely agree. Um, Yeah, OKC just seems a bit stronger here. Oh, that was one thing. The thing I love about the double big lineup is you get that really helps highlight not just not Chet Holmgren, I Hart's passing because he hits that big to big lob, which is amazing,
Yeah.
beautiful, scrumptious. I love it. But also the Chet Holmgren dunking, and I don't know where I saw this. I was bringing this up to a friend. Is that um so Chet Holmgren's dad, he played in Europe, and his dad would make him when they'd play basketball or like train. His dad would make him throw passes onto like a coin on the ground, and Isaiah is like, "Why am I doing this? Like I'm a big man." And this is what we get. We get a guy that can hit lobs, make crazy passes. I mean, there's one where the ball gets to him on a steal, and he just like boom behind the back, not even really looking. He's spinning and just throws it behind him, and Shea's like, "Oh, that's me, thanks," and then they get a layup. It's very nice, um, and just a lesson that everyone should be able to do everything on the court. No, no need to say you're big. Get in the paint, big guy, turn around, hook shot. Just do that. No need to limit them. Just do whatever you want to do. Do everything. So yeah,
I think the big thing too is with or without Shea, they've been great. Like
yeah,
their depth, we know this about their depth all season, but then 36 minutes that Shea Gill just played, they outscored the Pacers by 5. But the 12 he didn't
mm,
play, they outscored the Pacers by 11. And when you have in a lineup of Alex Caruso, Jalen Williams, Aaron Wiggins, Casey Wallace, and Hardenstein being effective,
yeah,
that's going to help a lot with the other guys. And yeah, um, when you
definitely.
have piranhas as soon as you get into the paint, like just swiping at the ball, and you have like Chet Holmgren can be the roamer when like Hardenstein is like trying to play chase on a guy
Hmm.
that's beat him to the paint. Those are massive advantages, and I think the way they play defense is incredible. Now, the one thing I worry about them is the corner threes, and if
Yeah,
Indiana can start to manufacture those at a high rate,
it's
that
gonna be
can
tough.
lead to comebacks like they had in Game 1, and that's the only weakness under defense. But if they can clean that up, I still think they can win in 5. I don't see
Yeah,
why not, because the way they played in Game 1 and 2, particularly in the first half, absolutely is on brand with them. I think the big thing is that defensive gap and then converting the turnovers. That's going to be huge for them,
yep,
because that was a turning point in the series we had talked about before the series started. How both these teams were great at it, and then Thunder were uncharacteristically bad in Game 1. So I don't know which Thunder we're going to get in that regard in Games 3 and 4, but I'll be interested to find out.
yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting, and yeah, I'm excited for the next game tomorrow. It kind of sucks. I hate how we've had 2 days in between each one games 1, 2, 2, and 3, but then 3 and 4 it's only one day. Um, why not keep it consistent? But I also think the WNBA has games for prime time on Saturday, which fine. And I think listening to the Hoop Collective or some other podcast, they were saying to get the game 7 on a Sunday. So I guess that makes sense. I just don't like the inconsistency. Just pick one schedule and go with it. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of on the finals for me.
Alrighty. That will do it for us. You can find us on our Instagram channel at amon.a.mission,
Yeah.
on our YouTube channel at Amon Mission. Unfortunately, I will be out in Canada next week, so I won't
Um,
be able to recap some of the finals. But hopefully by then, we have our champion, and you guys can listen to our full
maybe.
analysis on the series as a whole. Will it be OKC now that they got the momentum, or will Indiana snatch it back because they have the home
Uh,
court advantage technically still, despite losing momentum going into Game 3? We shall see. But Diego, close us out, man.
yeah. See you, everyone. Have a good week.